I've never put it this way before, but I'm just gonna say it. I don't think I'm a good employee. And the only reason I say this, like I actually do well, don't get me wrong. I do well as an employee, but I don't like to be told what to do. Let me put it that way.
Me
So
too. You're talking to the right person.
yeah, so it's just when someone tells me you must start your job at 8:30, you must take your lunch at this time and you must leave at this time. I just I'll do it. Like don't get me wrong, like I'm not a rebel when it comes to my full-time job, but deep down, I don't like being told what to do. I want to do it my own way. Like I've always had that, if I want to sleep in that day and just work a little bit later that day, then I should be able to.
Hey, are you exploring the idea of starting a side hustle as a graphic designer? Because if you are, you're in the right place. My name is Andrew, and welcome to Digital Nomad Journey, where we support digital nomads and remote workers seeking the laptop lifestyle and being location independent. Welcome. You know, in today's world, it's more important now than ever to be resilient despite what outside market factors are doing. Sometimes they're causing us grief and problems, and that's exactly what happened to this graphic designer here. Her name is Sandra, and she was able to pivot when she noticed her clients were drying up. We have a really great chat, and I think you're going to enjoy it. Check it out.
Sandra, thank you so much for being here. So after obtaining her engineering degree and working in the field for a few years, Sandra was not satisfied with her 9-to-5 cubicle job that she worked so hard for. As a result, she decided to take a different path, studying fashion and graphic design in Toronto, achieving success in multiple fashion competitions and large graphic design projects. Realizing that creative design was where her heart gravitated, she started a small freelance graphic design business while still working full-time as an engineer. That's impressive. She began her services in the wedding industry, designing and creating custom wedding invitations, seating charts, menus, and all stationery required for events. Due to the pandemic this year, she pivoted her services to creating custom logos and business cards for small business owners while exploring the idea of selling digital art on Etsy. This year, she has opened a new Etsy shop of printable wall art, digital planners, and feminine logos while still offering custom work for clients. She has recently expanded her services by starting her own YouTube channel, right on, where she shares her graphic design tips and digital product experience to help other entrepreneurs build the digital product business they love. Sandra, thank you so much for being on Digital Nomad Journey.
Thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure to have you here. I'm excited to dive right in, but why don't we start things off with just telling everyone where you're at. Where are you right now?
As you said in my bio, I started off as a full-time engineer. I wasn't happy with it, so I went into fashion design, absolutely loved it, and decided that graphic design was actually what I loved, because as much as I love designing fashion collections, I wasn't really into the physical demand of sewing and just creating all these garments as much as I love designing it. After I had graduated from fashion design, I continued as an engineer just so that I needed still that full-time income because I wanted to create a fashion brand or, I did explore with that option and I loved it, but I didn't have time to do it at the same time as my full-time job. And I was too nervous to leave my full-time job still. So I made the time for graphic design and I was starting a side hustle, and I created more stationery for my friends and family in the beginning. I wasn't even charging. I was kind of doing it for fun. I was trying to help them out, and people were telling me like, you should do something with this. Like, you're really good at this. Try to see if you can offer services to other people. And so I did. So this was actually a couple of years ago. I stopped for a while because I just started getting so busy. I was between jobs. I was jumping from company to another, trying to still find happiness in the engineering field. But so because I was so busy with it, I stopped graphic design for a while. But this year, so January of 2020, I said to myself, you know what, I'm going to try to really go for what I love. Let's see if I can make this a full-time career. And of course, we know how 2020 went. It's funny because the first couple of months, so before March happened, I was doing really well. I was actually getting really overwhelmed with clients. I had an Instagram account that was fully dedicated to wedding stationery. But when March happened, I realized that all the clients that I had were postponing their weddings for 2021. And not only was I sort of losing the clients for 2020, but I wasn't getting new clients. And that's when I started to pivot. And that's when I connected with a lot of small business owners that were asking me to make logos for them and business cards. And I just loved it. I was getting busy with that as well. I opened up an Etsy shop, which I can talk about more in detail, but this is just kind of a general rundown. But I started getting busy with creating the Etsy shop, and I realized that I wanted to become a coach. That's why I recently just started my YouTube account. It's less than a month old. I only have 4 videos up so far, but my goal is to teach other graphic designers how they can start their own side hustle and potentially turn it into a full-time career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's why you and I resonate clearly on, there's some overlay here, because I'm passionate about optimizing the digital nomadic and remote working lifestyle. So if you don't mind, I'd love if we can back it up just a little bit here. You were an engineer, and I find this fascinating because this seems to me like if life was a pendulum, like the engineer is on the one side and the graphic design artist is on the other side, the very left brain versus right brain conversation.
Yep.
How did you pivot like that? Your day job engineer, and then your side hustle is very creative. Maybe it was that outlet that you desperately needed, but what was the motivating factor? Because that's not what, I haven't heard that yet. Like what made you say, you know what, this, like you said in your bio here, like this cubicle life ain't for me. But why did you want the remote lifestyle? Why did you want to have more control over when and where you worked, and how did you choose graphic design? I don't know if you can maybe dive a little bit deeper into that area for us.
I can. So I am going to just back up a little bit. I don't know if I mentioned it, but I am still working full time. So I am still working full time.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes, from home, of course, because of this year. And that's why I decided to pivot and turn it into something bigger, because I actually took this year as more of an opportunity. As difficult as this year was, I don't think I'd be able to do everything that I'm doing at the same time as my full-time job. That's when it sort of hit me that I'm home now, I'm working from home, and I have all this time that I can build this career from. So my ultimate goal, and I know it will happen, that I am going to leave my full-time job. I started working for the municipality. So for a few years, I was working as a consultant in engineering. And I thought that if I had changed to work for a municipality as a reviewer, I would enjoy it more. It's the same thing. You don't like engineering, you're not going to like anywhere you're working. So I'm going to go back to the very beginning. When I was in high school, I want to say that I was that typical high school student that didn't know, what I wanted to do. There are some high school students that, have an idea of where they want to take their career, but I was not one of those people. I was only interested in art, and I thought of the idea of getting into architecture, but I didn't have the portfolio at the time, because high school doesn't really prepare you for your life to pick a program to go into university. I chose engineering because I wanted to take the safe path and to study something that I knew I could get a full-time job and have that 9-to-5 career. And I think that's how we were all raised, at least my generation. We were kind of raised to, go through university, get your degree, get your job, and you're good to go, you're set. And I quickly realized that I didn't enjoy it. So even when I was in school, I did not enjoy it. I wanted to drop out. Like the first year I wanted to drop out, but I also didn't want to feel like that person that was running behind, because all of my friends were studying. I kind of thought that they knew exactly where they were going, and I didn't want to be the one off. Like I didn't want to be that one person that wasn't studying, didn't know what she wanted to do, and I was just jumping back, between ideas or what I wanted. So that's why I kind of stuck with it. And I wanted to make my parents proud. Like I wanted to graduate, and I hoped that it would be different when I did graduate, when I got that job. So I have always been interested in the arts. Like I've always sketched, I've always designed so many different things. I would design clothes, and that's why I went into fashion. I was never into graphic design. Graphic design, I fell in love with when I was in fashion, because I learned that through the private school that I went to in Toronto. But there was always that love for creativity, for design. When I worked at my first job, it's always exciting when you get your first job, but not only did I not enjoy the tasks that were given to me, but I've never put it this way before, but I'm just gonna say it. I don't think I'm a good employee. And the only reason I say this, like I actually do well, don't get me wrong, I do well as an employee, but I don't like to be told what to do. Let me put it that way.
Me too.
So,
you're talking to the right person.
yeah, so it's just when someone tells me you must start your job at 8:30, you must take your lunch at this time and you must leave at this time. I'll do it. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not a rebel when it comes to my full-time job, but deep down, I don't like being told what to do. I want to do it my own way. Like, I've always had that, if I want to sleep in that day and just work a little bit later that day, then I should be able to. And I wanted to be that person that called the shots, like I wanted to be the boss. let me put it that way. And that's when, I thought to myself, oh, if I climb up the corporate ladder, I will be the boss, maybe that's what I just need to do. I just need to pay my dues. I need to work for a few years. But the problem was the more and more I thought of that, imagining living my life in a cubicle, because your full-time job, it's not your life. Your career is not your life, but it's a huge part of your life and it affects everything else. And imagining myself like thinking, oh gosh, like I have another 40 years or whatever it is before I retire. I just like, is that when I'm going to enjoy, the freedom? That's when it really hit me. And that's when I only stayed at the first company that I worked at. It was 2.5 years before. It was even less than that. I think it was like just over 2 years that I had decided to leave and go into fashion design and study graphics and all that. So and then when I went into another company, it was the same thing. Like I just couldn't find happiness in anywhere that I had went. And I've had many even part-time jobs before I went into engineering, and it was the same thing. I just didn't like having a boss that told me exactly what to do. So it was the idea of having that freedom that I can choose to work later and spend the day with my family. If I want, eventually if I want to grow my family, I have the freedom to spend with them. And I can choose, okay, if I don't want to work today, I'll just push it to tomorrow. Or even, and the thing is, if I created a career for myself, I would be directing, I would be directing the path. I will put it that way. Like I would know exactly what I want to do and what I don't want to do. So all the, I guess the side hustles that I've had, I've learned so much from it, and I've decided what I love and what I don't love. So I've decided to cut things out, which I'll get into more detail about that. But that's what was so important to me, like to be able to decide when to work and I have so much control over what jobs I'll accept and what I won't accept.
Okay, so my response to what you just said is the one word I heard you repeat more often than anything else was freedom. And I find that digital nomads, remote workers, location independent enthusiasts as a whole, they value that higher than perhaps other people. And having the freedom to work, like you said, whenever you want in that day, and then in those gaps, be able to run some errands, spend some time with loved ones, take care of your pets, take care of a loved one. And it's funny how in this year, I mean, if you look for the silver lining, you're going to find it. And yes, 2020 has been a hard year on everyone. At the time of this recording is November 2020. And this has been a brutal year for a lot of people. However, if you look for it, you're going to find the silver lining. I firmly believe in this. And now we have all these employees, entrepreneurs, freelancers, consultants working from home. And it's like, this ain't so bad. This is pretty good. And lots of employers are saying, you know what, we're going to let our employees work at home full-time, 100%. Yeah. Twitter's come out and said that. Google, Facebook, some of the biggest companies on the planet have realized that their productivity has actually gone up. Mm-hmm. Since
that's awesome. Yeah, there you
go. It like the results are overwhelming. And so it seems like we're steaming towards a future of maybe a hybrid model where, there's always going to be those employees that and those freelancers that probably need to be on site for certain things. But I'm passionate about this way of life, and it's nice to see that that a lot of people are realizing the massive benefits with this style of lifestyle. So thanks for backing up with us on all of that, because I think that's a really important aspect and why I enjoy these kinds of conversations. Now, perhaps you can share a little bit of light on why digital products, why graphic design, why. And I firmly believe that digital products are a huge part of, they are a huge part of my life and and going to be more important in the coming months and years ahead of us. What can digital products do for someone? Because clearly you are helping people refine their digital products, improve their digital products. Why digital products? What are your clients telling you? What have you seen on that front?
Yeah. I have experience with both digital products and physical products. So I've been able to see the difference and the benefits of both. After I had graduated from fashion design, I had mentioned that I had done a few collections. As much as I loved it, it was just so demanding on the body. And the time that it took and the effort that it took, like honestly, I respect everyone that goes into, collections, even making accessories and selling them, and just creating physical products and selling them. Earlier this year, so just after, I think it was in April, I still have my sewing machines from, a few years ago. And I said to myself, I'm just going to try and see if I can start creating some accessories and selling them. And I was thinking of opening an Etsy shop of physical products, not digital products. I was going to make scrunchies, headbands, baby bows. Like there were so many ideas that I had, and I started doing it. And I was selling them. I was actually only selling them on Instagram. I would literally post things on Instagram and people would just order and I would send them out. And I was having such a difficult time shipping. And I know that it's like right now, oh yeah, you're in Canada too. So I was using Canada Post, and it was really difficult because COVID had hit. It was everyone was getting it so late. I know that's not always the case, but I've just heard horror stories of people, even pre-COVID, people not getting their packages or people getting it damaged or just all these issues. Or if, I hadn't experienced it yet, but if somebody wanted to return something and I had a shop open, I would have to deal with returns. And I just couldn't see much benefit in all the time that I had spent making the accessories because I wasn't sourcing it out. I was doing everything myself. I was drafting it all. I was buying the fabric. I was cutting. I was sewing, packaging, everything. And I'm just going to be very honest. The profit in that, it just wasn't enough for me to justify continuing it. So I was able to compare that to digital products. And thank goodness I didn't actually open an Etsy shop of physical products because I think that would have really stressed me out. But I was doing a lot of research and I actually started watching YouTubers. That's what, like this year is when I started watching a lot of YouTubers talking about their Etsy shops and even things that they were selling on Amazon and their own websites. And I watched people that were creating templates. So whether it was wedding invitation templates and social media templates, art printables, I didn't even know that was a thing. Like I didn't know art printable was a thing. You can create art that people will purchase from you digitally. They'll print it themselves and they'll frame it. And I was thinking that is so amazing because the maintenance of that to run a digital shop is so low because you create the product, upload it, somebody purchases it. The only issue that you could possibly have is if there's an issue, like a technology issue, or what I'm trying to say is like if Etsy had an issue and the link didn't send to them and they would email you and just tell you, oh, I didn't receive my file. I would just email it to them. That's literally the only maintenance that I have, or adding more digital products. And it's such a fun and creative side hustle. It's so much fun. So that's what I started to dive into. I opened an Etsy shop and I started creating art printables. I chose a niche, which is something that I find very, very important because I did have a fail where I opened an Etsy shop a while ago, and that's a whole nother story. And it was just a fail because I didn't do the research properly. I didn't validate the market. I didn't choose a niche. My shop was all over the place. And you have to pick something that you're super passionate about. So I started designing girl boss, printable wall art, and digital planners. And as soon as you get a sale, you have validated the market. Like you know that people want this. Mm-hmm. And I started creating more, and it was just so much fun because people were messaging me. They're showing me photos of them, whether they're buying it for themselves or a gift or their daughter. They'll show me pictures of it, and it just got me. Like it melts my heart. Like I just absolutely love seeing people printing my artwork and they're framing it. And I realized that I love to serve women, girl bosses, and small business owners. And that's why I create specifically logos and business cards And the printable wall art is specifically for girl bosses that want to decorate their home office or, you know, their bedroom, because my wall art, I like to say it motivates, it's motivating quotes that you can sort of put around your home. And that's how I just, there's so much I can say about digital products. You'll never run out of stock. It will be serving you forever. So months ago, I came out with a few pieces or digital wall art that still serves me today, because those were the more popular ones. And the great thing about that is I don't have to make it again. It's passive income. So I would literally wake up sometimes and I had like 5 orders overnight, and I don't have to do anything. I literally just look at it and I do a happy dance. Like, I don't have to do anything because I've done all the work.
Yeah.
So,
Warren Buffett has a great quote that if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, then you will work every day till the day you die.
oh, that's yes.
Yeah. Virtual products, digital products are, for what I'm hearing you say, is there's a much lower barrier of entry.
Yes.
Maybe after gaining some success and traction, someone can graduate to physical products, but it certainly sounds like a very beginner friendly. So if you watching this video right now, if you're a beginner and you're looking for a way to create passive income, you're looking for a way to break out of the 9-to-5, start that side hustle, I'd be paying close attention to what Sandra's doing here, because success leaves clues. And sorry, I cut you off there. You might have had some more to say there.
No, you said it just right. And when I was only offering custom work, like before I opened a shop, and I realized, oh, all my work doesn't actually have to be custom. I can create something that many people may want to purchase. And I was talking about before the pandemic hit, like before March, so pre-COVID, I was already getting overwhelmed with and it was digital and physical products. When I was doing wedding invitations, some people would even just want the digital product and they'll print it out themselves. But a lot of the time I was going to the store, I'd be printing it for them, and I would deliver it to them myself. And it's all fun. It really is. The problem was there was only so many clients I could take. And it got to a point where I didn't want any more clients. Like when someone would contact me, like it should be very exciting. It should be like, yes, I have another client. Like, like I'm doing well now. Like I'm getting multiple clients a month, but it was getting so overwhelming that when someone would contact me, I would almost like, and this is bad to say, but I was almost hoping that they would choose somebody else, because, and mind you, I would never say no. Like I would still accept it, but I would almost regret accepting so many jobs at once because I was so overwhelmed. And that's when I started to think there's got to be a better way. There's yeah. So
I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
I've actually, I'm a consultant myself, and I've been turning clients away now for the past month. And it's a good situation to be in, but I'm now referring that business to other people, and people are very grateful when you send them business, obviously. But there is that sense too of like, what am I doing wrong here? Because I shouldn't be turning clients away, right? So
Yeah.
there is that little voice inside you going like, there might be a better way to do this. So what is the number one top tip that you can give a new graphic designer? I'm confident and sure that you are going to be helping a lot of graphic designers, and probably a lot of newbies, probably a lot of beginners out there. You probably have dozens and dozens of tips, but if you had to narrow it down to one, what's the top tip that you could give a new graphic designer?
Mindset. Mindset is everything. I took a long time to go for it, to open up an Instagram account for my graphic design side hustle. It took me a while to start almost everything that I have started, because I didn't believe that I had anything to offer, and that there was just so many other people doing what I want to do that I'm not unique. Why is someone going to pick me over that person that has more experience than me? The biggest thing is there's like 7 billion people in the world. You will get clients. There will be, if you put your work out there and it's good, you will get clients. Even starting my Etsy shop, it took me a while to start it because I was so afraid to fail. And I realized the only failure was the fact that I wasn't starting, the fact that I didn't believe in myself. Even my YouTube channel, I purchased Sunny's course a while ago, but it took me a while to actually record my first video because I was so intimidated by it. Because you have to start somewhere. Like your first 50 videos is going to be terrible. I always think like you're never going to be perfect when you start off. no one started off perfect. The
You
people
gotta
that
go through the suck phase. Gotta go through that suck phase.
It's so true. And the people that we look up to, we see them now, but they've been doing it for years, you know, and we think that they started off pros. So my biggest tip is don't be intimidated by other people's success. Let me put it that way. Don't be intimidated by, you know, the software that you may use. And that is another tip that I want to give. You don't have to start off with super complex software. I use Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop, but there are free options out there that you can just start off with and just practice. Like Canva, for example, there's a free version that you can use just to practice. If you haven't studied graphic design, you can teach yourself 100%. Even YouTube, you know, YouTube has so many tutorials. There's courses you can take online. Just go for it. There's no better time than now. And that's why I've taken advantage of this year. You are home now more than ever. This is the time to start. So that's
couldn't agree with you more. One question that I really like asking people is if you don't mind possibly sharing a big mistake that you made, because they sting, they hurt, they suck. But quite often we learn the most from our mistakes. And I have plenty of expensive and painful mistakes that I'm actually very grateful for when I think of them these days. Is there a mistake that you don't mind sharing with us that you wouldn't be where you are right now? You wouldn't be on this path, this amazing journey that you're on right now, had you not made that big mistake?
I had mentioned that I started graphic design a couple of years ago, my side hustle. And I stopped it for a while because I was just so busy and I was so focused on just getting a different job, my full-time career. What I wish I didn't do is stop what I was actually passionate about. I actually stopped for over a year, and I didn't touch any of my social media. I wasn't serving anybody. I just kind of disappeared from that, at least from my, you know, my graphic design small business, because I kind of told myself that, and again, this goes back to mindset, but I told myself that it's not going to go anywhere. And that's when I had opened up an Etsy shop, which I had mentioned a while ago. And I thought that I can create passive income from it and all that, but it just wasn't working out for me. I wasn't getting the sales that people were sort of promising, because the thing is, when you watch other people and they're getting daily sales and they're succeeding and they're getting so many custom work as well, it wasn't happening for me as quickly as I wanted. I kept saying, like, what's the point of this? I might as well just stick to my full-time job, because this is just taking up too much time and I'm not going to get to where I want to be. So that's why I had stopped. And I closed my Etsy shop, and I stopped taking clients, and I was so miserable because I didn't have that creative outlet. And I had focused on my full-time job, which I wasn't enjoying at all. And it was really, really affecting me like emotionally. And I was depressed. But I feel like I had to hit that before, you know, I realized that I need this creative outlet. Like, I almost needed to hit rock bottom and realized how like depressed I was without it, because I wasn't, it's part of me. It's part of my personality, like design in general and serving other people and making them happy in what I've created for them brought me so much happiness. But because I shut that out for over a year, it affected me so much that I realized what I was missing. So I want to say that was a mistake, but at the same time, if I hadn't made it, I would not have realized how much it meant to me. So I hope that makes sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm really glad you touched on this, because there's that winning formula. Everyone calls it something different. The one I like to subscribe to is the 3 Ps. When you pick a niche or a market, a product that you want to bring to people, you want to think about the 3 Ps. You want to be proficient in this market, in this space. You want to have a passion for it, which is what you're talking about. And there's got to be some profitability there too. There's got to be paying customers. And it sounds like to me that you got frustrated and then you walked away from it, but then you were lacking that passion part of the formula. And so then it sounds like the universe came and almost like slapped you upside the face and said,
Kind
no,
of, yeah.
you got to get back on that. You know, you were on the right track there. And you know what, sometimes you have to feel that pain to be motivated to start, to get going, to take that first step. And like you were saying earlier, you can't compare your first day with someone's 800th day. You just can't do that. And you can drive yourself nuts. And social media, unfortunately, is not our best friend sometimes, because you're seeing everyone's best life when they're publishing all these sales that you were mentioning, and all this custom work that these people are getting on Etsy. And yeah, they're probably sharing it on social media because they're proud of it. And they probably hustled for a long time to get where they are. So I appreciate you sharing that. And sometimes these mistakes have to teach us those painful lessons, right? And we have to go through that. What are some of the biggest challenges and obstacles that you see graphic designers facing today? And what can they do in spite of those challenges to achieve success, to get on that path to success?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to talk more specifically about people that are working a full-time job and they're hoping to, create a graphic design side hustle that they can hopefully turn into a full-time job, which is the road I'm on right now. And the reason I like to highlight the fact that I do work full-time is because I do believe a lot of people can relate to me. The difficult, and I want to talk pre-COVID, because now that we are working from home, at least majority of us are working from home, we do have a little bit more time. But pre-COVID, it was so difficult to find that time, because when you are working full time, you get home, sometimes you'll want to go to the gym, maybe you'll want to have, you're going to have dinner when you get home. And by the time you're done everything, you just want to relax. You want to relax, unwind, and go to bed. And then when the weekend it comes, you want to enjoy your time. It's really difficult to get into the mindset that you, as an entrepreneur, as lovely as people like to make it sound and look, it's great to be an entrepreneur. It's fun, it's exciting, it's creative, but at the same time, it is stressful. Especially, I don't want to say especially in the beginning only. There's always going to be stress involved in some shape or form. But in the beginning, that decision that you have to make to continue, even though you haven't seen results, that's the most difficult part. When you haven't seen results as quickly as you want to give up. And to this day, I struggle with it. You have to be your own cheerleader. I can talk about software and, say, oh, the software is going to be a little bit difficult for you to even learn. Yes, it does. It's a learning curve. You're going to take some time to learn even the basics of graphic design. But once you get over that hurdle, it becomes much easier. But having to be your own cheerleader, I like to call it, every day is the most difficult part, because there will be competition. There will be people that, like, people are not always going to choose you. There will be people that will get quotes from you. They'll take a look at your work. Maybe they'll like your work, but they'll find somebody else that they like better, or they like their quote better. You have to remind yourself that first, not everyone's going to choose you. Not everyone's going to purchase your products, but you have to remind yourself why you're doing it in the first place. You have to be passionate about it. That's the biggest thing. You have to love what you do, because if you're only in it solely to leave your 9-to-5 or solely to make money, it's not going to last. It's not strong enough. You're going to find a time, or it's going to come where you're fed up, you're overwhelmed with all the extra work that you have to do on top of your 9-to-5. And even when you do quit your 9-to-5, you are now the boss. You now own, this company that you've created, this business that you've created. You may hire people, and I was going to tell you, I haven't hired my first person yet, but I have an idea of what I'm going to need help with, because I am starting to get to a point where I am overwhelmed. And again, to this day, I have days where they're not as successful as others. Let me put it that way. Like, there's days that I will get many sales on Etsy. There's days that I may get one. You know what I mean? It just depends on the market and what's happening in the market. And that's why I do believe in multiple streams of income as a graphic designer. And that's where I'm headed. But in the beginning, when you're starting off and you don't have any help, it's very, very stressful. it's not just, oh, I just have to have an Instagram account and I just have to create maybe a Pinterest account and that's it. No, there is, you know, your shop, you've got your Instagram, your Pinterest account, you've got email marketing, you may have a YouTube channel, you may have a blog. And that's what, it's the balance. It's finding that balance of everything. And then you've got your personal life, right?
What?
So I think,
what's that?
Oh, well, yeah, exactly. What? Like, it's crazy. Like, yeah, it's just the balance that you have to find between everything. It gets so overwhelming on some days, and you just have to remind yourself to, you gotta focus on some self-care. You gotta relax. You gotta take breaks. I tell people that all the time, but I don't always follow that, because there's days I can be on the computer for so long. As a graphic designer, you can be on the computer all day and not realize that you haven't had a meal. Like that's another thing that I have to focus on, because you're on the computer all the time. There is physical demand on your body. You're constantly sitting on a chair. It's not good for your back. And I think it's just finding that, yeah, just trying to balance out your life. You know, health and fitness is so important as well. And I think we just get so heavily involved in what we're trying to create that we forget that there's other things you should be focusing on as well.
I'm really glad I asked you that, because you just like touched on everything.
Oh, good. Good. So I didn't ramble a little bit, yeah.
No, hell no. So if you watching this video right now, if you're enjoying this, because Sandra's dropping some gold here, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I'm obsessed with bringing the very best content for digital nomads and remote workers. And if Sandra's describing a situation here that meets your current circumstances, that you're stuck in that daily 9 to 5, that you're looking to explore options to perhaps create some passive income for yourself, and maybe graphic design is part of your journey, then you definitely want to look into what Sandra's doing here. Check out her YouTube channel, and if you like digital nomad stuff and remote workers, you want to subscribe to this channel here too. So moving on here, Sandra, can you perhaps share something with like you've I almost feel like you've hinted at it a couple times in our conversation so far, but have you ever received any pushback? Has anyone ever given you a hard time? I can imagine your life was on a trajectory, being this engineer. You're doing everything that society tells you you're supposed to do, blah, blah, blah. I get it. Been there, done that too. And then all of a sudden you want to open up an Etsy shop, and you want to start doing fashion and graphic design work, and working for weddings and these various events that require stationery and all these different designs that you're clearly proficient in. Has anyone given you a hard time and said, you know what are you doing here? You know, like, because we always have those loved ones that want the best for us, but maybe don't have the same mindset we have, that you pointed out earlier on.
Absolutely. It actually started when I wanted to go into fashion design. My parents are always supportive. They really are. They've supported me my whole journey. But when I wanted to switch into fashion design, they were confused, to say the least. And I didn't blame them for it, because I guess it kind of came out of nowhere, but I was kind of doing my own research on the side. I didn't really want to tell anybody, because I didn't want people to think that, my biggest thing is I didn't want to look like a quitter. Like, I didn't want to look like somebody that just can't decide what they want to do, and they just want to keep quitting what they're doing so they can jump into something else, and they just get bored so easy. And what I always say about myself is I'm multi-passionate. I'm passionate about so many different things, and there's only so many, I guess, passions that I could explore. When I had gone into fashion, again, my parents were supportive. They were like, you know, if you think you're going to enjoy it, if you think this is the right thing for you, kind of go for it. But I could tell that there was kind of an underlying message there, that they weren't really sure what I was doing. Why would I stop working as an engineer, especially when, you know, the more you work as an engineer, the more you're climbing up the corporate ladder. And I was kind of interrupting that. So I think everyone was confused. Even my friends, they were kind of confused. They knew that I was artistic. They knew I loved to do it. But especially after studying for 4 years in engineering, you kind of think, even to yourself, was that a waste? Like, did I waste 4 years if I end up completely changing my career? And I think that's another thing that we fear. Did we waste time? Once we choose a path, we don't want to interrupt that path, because it's like, did I just waste 4 years of intuition and studying just to switch? So I definitely did have some pushback from my family as much. And it's funny because when I had gone into fashion design and I was doing so well, because there were so many competitions that I was doing so well in, they started to see, like, eventually they started to see how much I loved it, how good I was at it. And they were very, very supportive in that. And then I experienced it again this year, actually, when I decided to pivot from the wedding stationery industry, because my mom, especially, she loves my designs and my wedding invitations and my menus, and she was so proud of me. And when she started to see that I was slowly pivoting and almost not really offering that anymore, which I still do, I design wedding invitations and stationery for all events, but I'm not marketing it. I'm not posting about it anymore.
Actively, yeah.
Exactly, yes. Because I had decided that, you know what, I want to be a coach. The reason I want to explain a little bit why I decided to be a coach, or that I'm heading towards that direction, because even though I started to do custom work and I was learning from so many YouTubers and entrepreneurs that the best way to create this passive income for yourself is to now teach what you have learned, what you are an expert in. And my goal now is to come out with a digital course, and that teaches graphic designers how they can turn their side hustle into potentially a full-time job. And again, which is where I'm headed. But when I had told my family that I know what I want to do now, I want to become a coach, again, they were just so confused, because we've got this girl that's going from an engineer to a fashion designer to a graphic designer, now to a coach. And I like to say they're kind of all connected. Like, they kind of all, I learned graphic design from fashion. I've learned so much as an engineer, as a consultant. There's so much that I wouldn't say I regret any of it. But definitely, my mom was very confused, like, since when do you want to be a coach? Like, what does that even mean? Like, what are you going to do, kind of thing. And when I stopped posting wedding stationery or wedding invitations and all that, I think I was confusing my audience, it's always so scary to pivot, because you don't know how your audience is going to take it. Because your current audience is following you because of something very specific that you're offering. But that was another, I was getting a few questions from my friends, especially, that, what are you doing? Why are you talking about social media now? Or why are you talking about, graphic designers? Why are you teaching people this? I thought you were, in the wedding industry and all that. So definitely people will be confused. And another one that I do want to mention is, as an entrepreneur, when you're taking online courses, so I've actually taken 2 online courses now. I took an online course to create my Etsy shop, because that was another mistake that I did. I was very disappointed in myself for closing my first Etsy shop and not giving it 100%. So I actually took a course. And there's something that I have to say, like, when you pay for a course, you pay attention. So that's when I took that course, I really took it seriously. And I said to myself, I'm going in 100%. I'm going to create this course. But again, when I took that course, that Etsy shop course, my friends, my family, they had no clue what I was doing. Like, it was just completely different. And then I started YouTube, and that was a whole nother thing. So yeah, like, even my husband was kind of, and he's very, very supportive of everything. But with someone like me constantly trying to build and doing all these different, and I don't communicate everything. I don't communicate all my thoughts and where I see it going or where I want to go. And it comes out of nowhere. My husband, my family, my friends, they just, because they're not in that, in that realm, or I guess I want to say, the ones that are not in that entrepreneurial mindset and that space, it's, it's a whole nother world, that you're trying to explain. But, I feel like sometimes I have to justify why I want to take this specific course and this specific course, because I have a vision that not everyone will see yet.
I get that. I'm a big fan of digital courses myself. And yeah, and you're right with that. your vision might not be aligned with theirs. They want the very best for you. They might not understand it. I personally believe that the traditional education model has been decreasing in value for years now, whereas self-education has been increasing for years now. Yeah. And on your note, on the note you added, as far as when you pay attention, it actually is super applicable to these YouTube videos as well, because I've learned a ton of information from YouTube videos, which is clearly free content, but it's less structured. And when you take an online course, a digital course, and it literally takes you from A to Z, and it probably takes you in a very methodical path so that you're building upon, versus YouTube videos, you're jumping all over the place. You're almost at the mercy of the YouTube algorithm in many respects. And so you're not on a clear path to achieve the goal that you're out for. You have to be super diligent and super self-aware of what you're spending your time on, because it's super easy to waste a few hours on YouTube. Maybe the person watching this video right now knows what I'm talking about.
Yep, no, exactly. You said it right.
So thanks for touching on all of that. And earlier on, you mentioned that I think you said that there was softwares and such that you like. I like to ask, what's your favorite tool? What's your favorite resource? And maybe it is a software that a graphic design artist will need to take a hard look at.
Yeah, Adobe Illustrator. That I can't go a day without touching Adobe Illustrator. I create everything on Adobe Illustrator, actually. I use Photoshop as well. I have both. I don't use Photoshop as often as I do with Illustrator. It's just so robust. There's so much you can do with Illustrator. You can create all your digital products on there. I believe there's a 2-week free trial that you can get with Adobe Illustrator. If someone has never used it and they want to know if it's the right software, they can definitely get a free trial just to check it out. So there is a monthly fee, but it's not high. It's so worth it. And because you're going to be creating so many digital products that you're going to be selling, it's 100% worth the investment. The other software that I do use, a lot of people use it. People that are not graphic designers, they use it, and that's Canva. Mm-hmm. And it's because it's very intuitive. It has so many different templates that you can use for YouTube thumbnails. You can create Pinterest pins.
That's how I make my YouTube thumbnails, Canva. It's the free version. I haven't needed the paid version. Maybe one day I'll get the paid version, but right now the free version gets me everything that I need.
Yes, no, it's incredible. And I still sometimes to this day, I use Canva for my pins. If I want to create quick pins for Pinterest, which is something I absolutely love Pinterest. And I'm actually coming out with my first Pinterest video next week, because my Pinterest account blew up within just a few months of using it. So I want to start talking about tips for Pinterest. But I talk about how Canva is very, very useful, and the templates they have are beautiful. It's very easy to look like a graphic designer just with using Canva. But definitely, I highly recommend Adobe Illustrator. I've been using it for years. That's something that I would say every graphic designer has to at least try out.
Fantastic. And you just mentioned your Pinterest. I was checking out your Pinterest and your Etsy. Can you share more about that brand with us? I think you call it Flatter Me Prints. Is that correct? Or can you share some more color on that for us?
Yes, absolutely. So I actually started creating wall art for my office first, and I had so much fun with it. I knew I wanted to open an Etsy shop, but I didn't know what my niche was going to be. And I realized that I love to serve girl bosses, which is what I had mentioned. And I realized that my target audience is me. It's very similar to me. And that's why it's easy for me to like reach them or know what they want. So I started creating wall art for the girl boss that's working from home, that's building her empire. Whether she's working a 9-to-5 job and trying to grow this side hustle, or she has her own business already, her office is just decorated with motivational and sassy prints, and she loves to plan. So I have digital planners and social media content calendars as well, because I encourage people to batch create or batching their content, because I said before that it's really, really difficult to balance out all of the social media platforms and your shop and your email marketing and all that. But what I find very efficient is when you batch your content. So basically I've created tools and resources that have helped me and that will help women that are working from home and they're trying to grow their business in the most efficient way possible while staying productive and motivated. So I find that my wall art is just, it's supposed to motivate, because there are some days that you just don't feel like doing anything. And that's okay. There's days that you should be taking a break, but there's days you want that push, you want that motivation. And that's why I also offer digital planners that help you plan your daily tasks, weekly, monthly, and annual goals.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. And especially, I mean, I like to think that in any economy, there's always going to be those markets that are decreasing, markets that are staying stagnant, and other markets that are growing. And home offices, I'm pretty sure home offices are going to be a growing market for a while. So I think you're in a really great niche. I don't think you have anything to be worried about there. So as far as moving on to the next subject here, I really like asking this question. How has your definition of success changed from the very beginning, maybe those early engineering days, to compared to what your definition of success would be today?
Oh my goodness. It's night and day. Okay. So when I was in engineering, or when I was studying, success was, and I think I mentioned this already, graduating, getting your degree, and working a 9 to 5, climbing up the corporate ladder, become that senior project manager, and you have succeeded. Now, success, I would not have been able to recognize it back then. And I want to say success for me changes constantly, because I realize so much that brings me happiness. Success for me now is building a brand that I'm proud of and that serves people. So when I serve other people that want to create their own, whether it's a full-time business or a hobby or whatever it is, if I can serve other people and make a difference, that's success. If I can get out of bed and find that motivation and find the reason and remember why I'm doing what I'm doing, that is success. Because there are days that that I'm so hard on myself, and I'm sure a lot of people are, that, you bring yourself down and you compare yourself to other people and you think that you're not where you should be. But I find success when I remember why I'm doing it, and I'm able to list what I'm proud of and continue what I'm doing. And that's like that is success to me, because there's many days that you struggle. There's many days that it's hard to find what you are proud of and what you have grown already, how far you've come. And it's just everything I've learned this year alone, I'm so proud of, and I'm so proud of how far I've come. And my mindset has shifted so much, even though it's still not perfect. I don't think it ever will be. We're all human at the end of the day. But when you can shift your mindset to just be proud of how far you've come and truly, truly believe in yourself and go forward and building this career that you can call your own and this business that you can call your own, that's success to me.
Love it. Thank you for sharing that. I couldn't agree with you more. What are some of the specific action steps that people can take right now? They've made it to the end of this interview and they're fired up. You got them fired up, Sandra, and now they're like, great, what do I do now?
Okay, so first, if you are planning to be a graphic designer, you want to play with the different softwares that you have available to you. So I've already mentioned Canva, Adobe Illustrator, and Photoshop. I highly recommend you try all of those out. You can get beautiful graphics that you can use, whether it's in whatever digital products you're using. You can get beautiful graphics from Creative Market. That's what I use to get a lot of the graphics that I'm able to use. Like I purchased a commercial license for them, and fonts that you can use. So those are great tools to start off with. A big thing that I would want people to do, because I did not do this in the beginning, and this is what was difficult, is to try to choose your niche. Even if you have to brainstorm, just or just brain dump, write down all of the things that actually interest you. Do you want to get into the wedding industry? Do you want to serve people in, creating their logos like I did? Do you want to create an Etsy shop? Do you want to create your own website? Just brainstorm what you actually want to do, because choosing a niche is actually so much more important than I realized. When you're all over the place, you're not clear on who your target audience is, because when you're trying to speak to everyone, you're speaking to no one. And that's when it's really difficult to get clients, because when people don't know what you're offering, they're not going to go for you, because you're just going to confuse people. So try to choose a niche and then validate it. So if you are, let's say you want to start an Etsy shop, what I would highly recommend you do is, if you have an idea, let's say you want to create, just randomly, let's say you want to create nursery wall art, because that's a big thing on Etsy, by the way. But let's just say that's something you want to do. What I would do is I would go onto Etsy and I would research, make sure that people are creating it and that it is selling. You do not have to reinvent the wheel. That's another big tip that I give. Do not for a second think you have to reinvent the wheel. You have to come out with something completely different. It's actually much better, and you will find a lot of success in validating the market and putting a spin on what already exists. Obviously, you don't want to do the same thing as somebody else, but you want to make sure that there's a market for it and you're going to do it your own way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, love that. And if I could add just one little thing to that, I actually recorded a video on my YouTube channel showing itemizing the top 14 markets, 14 niches today, and they're also expected to do well moving forward. So I'm going to add that in the card up at the top there to see, and hopefully that'll provide some help for you watching this video as well, because there are a lot of markets that are doing terrible, and weddings are one of them. And that's why you had to pivot, Sandra. You pivoted and you found a growing market. And that doesn't mean that weddings are going to come back. I'm sure they will, but you did what any successful entrepreneur is going to do. You're going to survive. You're going to pivot and bring value to a marketplace that is so desperate for that value, where there's paying clients because you're solving a problem. You're creating a solution to an existing problem. And that's what entrepreneurs are really good at doing at the end of the day. So this next question, I really love this question. Not all heroes wear capes. And you're telling me that you want to be a coach, and I think you're going to be a damn good coach. If you could reach through this computer screen right now and grab someone and say, I want to help you. Who is your ideal coachable person that you would want to coach? Who is that ideal person that you want to be a hero to? And you could really just shift things for them. You could really just turn things around for them in a very real and tangible way.
That would be someone exactly like me a year ago. So I would grab her and I would tell her that I can show you where to start. I can show you how you can choose where you want to take your career, which niche to pick. I can help you brainstorm all the ideas. And now I can teach you how you can start creating it in the most efficient way possible. Because I've taken the long way of doing things. I've learned the hard way in many aspects, but I can teach you how you can start creating your digital products, and I can show you all the benefits of it and how much you're going to love it, how much you're going to enjoy it. And now I want to show you how you can start your own shop online, as well as get custom clients through social media, through email marketing, and build a brand that is your own. Because it's so important that people understand that you are the brand, and people are going to choose your work because it's coming from you. There will be people that specifically want that work from you, regardless of how much competition there is. Don't be afraid of all the competition. Don't be overwhelmed. And don't, it's always intimidating to start, but I promise when you do start and you start to see results, even if it's slow in the beginning, it would be a beginner. It would be a beginner graphic designer that just doesn't know where he or she wants to start and what to create and how to get clients. So.
Sandra, this was fun. If someone wants to get in touch, they want to reach you, how do they do that?
Yeah, so you can email me. That's hello@sandrad.co. You can also message me on Instagram.
Sandra, thank you so much for being on Digital Nomad Journey.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Great. And if you made it all the way to the end of this interview, I appreciate you. I hope you got some value out of this. I think you did, because I know I did. You might want to check out these YouTube videos as well, because the YouTube algorithm seems to think that you're going to find some value there as well. Own the day, make it yours. Take care.